Severance, my beloved. Severance, my gift that keeps on giving. Oh, Severance, my treasure. What a crazy show Severance turned out to be. With the conclusion of Season 2, Severance continues to be one of the best TV shows of our time, right up with Breaking Bad, Lost, etc. I could start listing things off like characters, setting, story that surpassed excellence, but literally every single aspect of Severance surpasses excellence. So that's why I'm going to put a major spoiler warning for both seasons 1 and 2 of Severance, so that you can stop watching this video and go into Severance unspoiled. Trust me, you'll thank me. By the way, while I have y'all here for a quick second, why don't y'all subscribe to my channel right now and join the channel's membership program? Once a member, you'll have access to exclusive behind-the-scenes videos of my video essays. Get a closer look at my thought process. Check the description of the video for the join link. But enough of that. Let's get back to the topic at hand. Severance is excellent, fantastic, a masterpiece, jaw-dropping, fresh, amazing, toe-curling goodness, superb, and on and on and on. There's a lot of positive adjectives that can be slapped on top of the quality of Severance. Whether you're looking for a show that has well-crafted characters, a plot that will keep you guessing, writing that will leave you begging for more, Severance has what you need. But right now, I'm going to focus on moments in the show that has the potential to stick with you for the rest of your life. Scenes that you know, once experienced, you'll be yapping about it to your friends. Moments that will have you audibly gasp. Severance has an abundance of these moments/scenes, with each noteworthy moment getting crazier and crazier. But folks, I want to highlight a moment from Severance that I believe outshines the rest. Honestly, there isn't a wrong answer to this discussion since every moment is peak, but I gotta stand on my little hill and die on it. I believe that this scene does and says so much for a scene that's no more than 5 seconds. So much value packed into a short clip. Folks, feast your eyes on the best moment/scene from Severance. Nope, I am not joking. This scene is better than Mark screaming she's alive in Season 1 and Mark and Helly running back into the facility in Season 2. How, you might ask? Well, let me cook and you'll see what I see. First, we gotta talk about the guy crashing out. Who the hell is this guy? This is Jame Egan. Not James Egan, Jame Egan. Because God forbid you have a foul S in your name. J-A-M-E, no S, Jame Egan. He's the current CEO of Lumen, but that doesn't really mean much compared to his family lineage. Since the conception of Lumen by its founder and god, Keir Egan, the Egan family has run and operated Lumen Industries for its entire existence. Under Egan's rule, Lumen continues to bring forth innovations that both impresses and creates questions of efficacies in the masses. Now that you've been introduced to this man, let's get cooking. Jame Egan and the other higher-ups working at Lumen have a certain way of speaking. It's elegant, refined, proper, distinguished, pretentious. Their over-excessive use of intellectually obscure vocale is their attempt to hold themselves to a high standards of Keir, and to hide the hideous monsters within themselves. Scenes from texts of Keir are being read will show how ridiculously packed the sentences are with hyperbole. It's even more apparent that the way that they talk is so important to them that they have people below them talk in a more simpler way. Take, for example, the complaints levied against Milkshake for using too many big words. A subtle way to show one's rank in the Keir's hierarchy. Besides Keir's message, it's clear the staff at Lumen hold up the way they speak on top of a pedestal. That's why when they lose their tempers and start swearing like sailors, it becomes a jarring yet funny experience. A strong plot device that allows the viewer to see the facade of decency and control fade away right before their eyes. This was wonderfully shown by Miss Cobell in Season 1, crashing out in the most spectacular way due to her losing her job.
Oh, fuck off, Natalie!
Fuck her goddamn soul forever into hell! Don't let him fucking fire until she fucking dies! Fuck her in her fucking face! Smile!
But we're not here to talk about Miss Cobell or Milkshake. We're here to talk about Jame without the S. Egan, and how his crash out is the best scene and or moment in the Severance series thus far. From Kier letting his brother die to the Egan lineage having a history of exploiting their own workers, it's safe to assume that the Egan family has little to no sympathy to their fellow man. Now just imagine what Jame thinks of the severed workers, the innies. Here's another safe bet: he probably doesn't see them as people. In fact, the company at large doesn't see innies as individuals, but rather just tools. Tools meant to be broken and disposed of. Of course, I'm sure that's what they intended when creating this severed program. The whole identity crisis thing was just a minor side effect. If one had to assume, Jame Egan laughed at the prospect of the innies posing a threat to his projects, seeing them as mindless animals, easily controlled, most likely. Caution cannot be avoided with something so important to Jame, so steps were made to keep the innies in line and efficient. Whether it be having obscure punishments, giving them little to no information, or giving little incentives to keep next quarter's quota. But in Jame Egan's mind, there was zero possibility for the innies to ruin his plans. That's what makes this scene so impactful. So grand that it's cut into two parts. In the hour of triumph, as Cold Harbor is completed and Gemma begins the deconstruction of the baby crib, Jame Egan watches from a screen. His efficacy test has begun. He sits down, staring at the screen as his laborious efforts are finally about to pay off. The greatest moment in human history is about to take place. A moment that would make even the great Kier shed a tear. A momentous moment that Jame could not miss. In the mind of Jame, there was no thought spared for error or complications. He gazed at the screen, fully expecting Gemma to fulfill her purpose and let Cold Harbor take root and blossom. Nothing could possibly go wrong in this very moment. While all this was happening, Mark S., both innie and outie, fought their way down the floor where Gemma remained imprisoned. The impossible probability was becoming not so impossible. The figureheads at Lumen couldn't even dream up a scenario where a severed worker could even derail their entire plans. Yet here comes Mark, getting ready to make their nightmare a reality. Again, this level under the Lumen facility is extremely important to Kier's mission. Praise Kier. So extra measures to ensure security were implemented. Instead of key cards that allows access to rooms, these rooms instead used needles to draw blood from the few selected people a part of the projects. Once the blood has been tested and found to be the blood of those who have clearance, then the doors open up. Mark S., the outie version, tried to gain access, but his blood was rejected. The story would have ended right there. Mark's wife would have died as he banged against the door to set her free. Cold Harbor would have been fully realized, and Jame Egan would have shed a little tear of joy over this accomplishment. But Mark realized that he has some blood from Mr. Drummond on his tie after accidentally executing him. So he uses the blood in his tie, and it accepts the blood sample. This is where part 1 of the greatest moment of all of Severance begins. Jame Egan was unaware of all the chaos happening around him. He was too busy watching the next step of human evolution about to begin. To him, everything was going according to plan. Until they weren't. Mark walks in to stop Gemma just as she's about to finish dismantling the baby crib. The glorious Lumen evolution halted as it's near completion. In response to this shocking turn of events, Jame said,
Oh, fuck.
This, oh, fuck, is one of disbelief. The idea that everything was under control now shattered at what he's seeing on screen. That facade of decorum totally wiped off his very mind. Letting "oh fuck" slip from under his breath might be the most human thing he has ever done in his entire life. The terrifying reality that the Lumen propaganda that was set in place to keep the innies in line failed immediately, punching Jame right in the gut. There was literally no way for someone like Mark to come in this very moment to stop Lumen's finest hour. His arrogance, his ignorance, his underestimation of the innies cannot shield him from the fact that the innies pose a serious threat to Kier's mission. Now that Mark finally has Gemma at hand, he leads her away from the room and thus begins the great escape, which leads us to the greatest moment in the Severance series. Now this fuck is one of rage, distress, and horror. The work from generational efforts made by the Egan name is going down the toilet, and Jame Egan has a front row seat. No one is doing anything to stop them. All Jame can do is watch helplessly as his family's life's work runs out of view. He screams at the screen while his world crumbles all around him. Mark single-handedly took Jame Egan's prize right in front of his face. This is undoubtedly a colossal loss for Lumen Industries, and unfortunately for Jame, he was there to witness it. So why is this scene the best scene from Severance, you might be asking yourself now? Well, for starters, it's funny as shit. Seeing an old-ass man scream fuck with how close the camera was to his face is pure comedy gold. It's just extremely funny, seeing the higher-ups lose their shit. You always see them acting on their best behavior, and then wham, they hit you with the most beautiful crash out ever seen in man's history. Then there's Jame Egan's full realization that he and Lumen fucked up big time by underestimating the innies. Now there's a big probability that when Gemma speaks against Lumen that they faked her death to keep her against her will in the facility, Lumen won't recover from such a accusation. Sure, when Heliar told the world the innies were being tortured down there, that was big news, but Lumen played it off easily. But having someone come forth to say that they were held against their will, it ain't gonna go away that easily. Lumen could get completely fucked over before they can accomplish their plans. But the biggest thing that I think makes this scene extra special is the consequences that will come from that scene. Specifically, what will Lumen do now that they know the innies shouldn't be taken so lightly? Jame was mostly unaware of troublesome events that transpired in the severed floor, so to him, it's not a big deal. But now he knows the innies pose a serious threat to his plans, which I think for the next season of Severance, we could see Lumen putting their foot down with all of their might. Guards in every corner, elaborate tricks to keep the innies guessing, putting down failsafe after failsafe to make sure what Mark did will never happen again. Which in turn could give the opportunity for each group within the severed floor to band together and fight the newly oppressive Lumen security. But that's just speculation and theory crafting. All in all, Jame Egan's meltdown brings so much more detail and opportunity to the series that any other scene or moment cannot compete. That moment when he screams at the screen is a defining moment, a definitive answer of whether the innie of a person is a separate person. And the answer to that is yes, they are. The common man believes it, the innies believe it, and now the corporate heads at Lumen are forced to believe it. This scene alone does so much for the series that I'd be surprised if Ben Stiller can manage to create a scene in Season 3 more legendary than this scene. Indeed.